Hi everybody, it's Diane with SewBatik, and today is August 31st, and we decided to call this day, It's a Wrap. It's the end of, well, kind of what we think about maybe summer, and September 1st is tomorrow. Labor Day is this next weekend. Bruce and I are going to take a couple of days of much needed downtime and spend it with our family in Minneapolis and go to the Minnesota State Fair. So you're going to see a whole bunch of shots from the 4-H buildings and food and fun and whatever. So we're really looking forward to that. But since it is the end of August and we've decided today is called It's a Wrap Day. So we're going to talk about wraps, garments, of course, that's what I mean. Not food truck wraps, but garments. And we have had, I would say over, I don't know, maybe a year or so, these what we call shawls or pareos or wraps. And we have an entire collection of these Batik Rayon shawls that have tassels, they have a border on them. And the motif that we used for these is called Phoenix. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful wrap. They measure 45 inches wide by 72 inches. So it's a really good sized wrap. And you can wear them any way that you would like, just simply as a scarf. You could wear it as a shawl. You can wear it, you know, just as a cover up when you're on a plane, if we're flying yet. But anyway, they are just absolutely gorgeous. And I have to say that when I'm in the office, I often wear one of these on my shoulder if it's a cool day now this fall coming up and over the winter time. And it's just, it adds a little something to a white linen shirt. But this color, I want to share each one of the colors with you, and then we're going to go into a couple of projects. Believe it or not, I am going to cut this to make a simple cover up, and I'm also going to show you how to make the same garment out of our Batik Cotton Jersey Knit. And I think it will be fun. But before we do that, this is our Purple Magic. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful deep, deep blue with, I would say, more of a grape or, kind of a grape shade to it. We also have these available in so many different colorways, but here's our lake motif. Here's the color brown bark. I love brown bark. That goes with blacks and tans. Azalea, of course, is an absolute favorite of everybody's. It is a beautiful red with black, and it's wonderfully worn to evening events or anything a little bit more formal. This is Ivy. It's a beautiful, beautiful green with a light, kind of a yellowy green motif. We have one that I've featured before, and this is called Dazzle. This has our reds and purples and oranges. It's just a beautiful, beautiful shade. You could wear this with black or white or anything. Red, absolutely. My favorite, as you know, is Dusty Denim, and it is our denim-y shade of blue with a white in the inside. It's kind of a creamy white. And you always have to have a wrap that is black. So here's our Tuxedo Brass, and it is a black and tan with a little bit of gold going throughout the motif. Here is a Twilight Blue. One of our favorites is the Twilight Blue, and you will see on our website the garment that we did for Christine out of the, we did a jacket out of Jersey Knit and a true indigo tank top with slacks. We also partnered it with this true indigo, and it's just a beautiful dark blue background with a lighter denim-y blue motif. And remember, all of these on our website today are 20% off. So think about some gifts, think about things that you want to wear this fall, and definitely shop the site. This is early autumn, And it's our light tan background, and it has hints of green and brown. Copen blue is also one of your favorites. It is more of a, it's more of a green blue, I would say, than a blue. That would be our twilight blue. If I were to put those two up next to each other, you would see the difference in the shades. Okay. And then the bright rainbow. Rainbow is a little bit different. You know, it's funny. On the screen, it shows some of the whites behind it, but it is truly a bright rainbow. Gorgeous. And if I put that up next to Dazzle, you'll see the difference between more of a Crayola approach to more of the red and brilliance of what you would see in a really, really hot summer sky. These are the various shades that we have of our wraps that are pre-made, and simply gift them, wear them, enjoy them. And now what I'm going to do is take you through 2 or 3 projects on how to make your own wrap, customize it a little bit for yourself. The first project I'd like to share is we're going to convert one of the wraps into more of a shawl, so that we don't have so much bulk sitting around our neck with such a large amount of fabric. So we're going to use the brown bark. I've always wanted to make one out of this shade. And remember, this is 45 inches wide, so we have selvages on each edge. We have, and it's 72 inches long, and there's the border motif along each selvage, each edge, and tassels. So it is a finished shawl. What I'm going to do is cut up the center of one side here, and we're going to make it, what do you call it? It's like a jacket without sleeves. So here's what we're going to do. Measure, fold it in half. We're going to find our center, okay? Right there. And this center has a tassel on it. So we're going to cut off that tassel right at the end, and we're going to take a snip right at that center point. Next, we need to decide how far into the wrap we're going to tear. We're going to tear this fabric because tearing it keeps it straight on grain. Trying to cut a wiggly fabric with a rotary cutter or a scissor takes a little bit of patience. So I always tear it. I have a fold mark in the center of my wrap when I measure from tassel side to tassel side. Okay, so I'm going to lay this out just like that. I can see my center right there, and here's my center here, and we're going to tear. Okay, now I am at the center of the 2 long edges of this fabric. The next thing I'm going to do is turn on my serger, and I'm going to do a rolled edge, rolled hem, all the way around from one torn edge all the way to the center. I'm going to pivot my needle right there. I always, here's the one thing that I'm going to do, and I'll show it to you, but I leave the knife engaged when I do a rolled hem. All the way up to the center of this V until I can no longer feel comfortable about that knife. I turn the knife off, I disengage the knife, I pivot at this V, take a few more stitches, I re-engage my knife, and finish the hem all the way to the edge of this side of the front. So let's go try this now. I'll show you what I'm doing so you can see how easy it is to add a rolled edge hem to this, and we're actually going to have a finished jacket. I'm using my traveling Juki serger today, and I have flipped this little switch to a rolled edge, and I've changed my tension guides to allow it to roll kind of the way I really like it. It's a very thin roll. So now with our fabric in hand, this is the wrap that I've torn. I do have the knife engaged because I want to clean off that edge while I do the rolled hem. So let's get started and just simply put this in place and let's get going. We're almost at the center of my V, which will be the top of the neck. And here's what I do. I stop this with the needle down. My Juki serger doesn't have a lot of fancy bells and whistles. So what I do is I stop it and I remove my knife, take it all the way out of the way, keep stitching, and I'm almost at the point. Needle down. I'm going to lift this up a little bit and pivot the wrap right there and continue through that point for just a little bit. Stop, needle down, and then I'm going to re-engage my knife so that we can trim off these edges as we finish up our hem. And now we're at the end. Gonna clip that off, and so here is the end, and let's find the middle. Here's the V where we stopped, pivoted, and then re-engaged the knife and just kept going to the end. So we have a really nice finish to our rolled edge on our new shawl. Let's go try it on. That was really easy to serge, let me tell you. Just a simple edge, rolled hem, all the way through to the V in the center and the rest of the hem along the front edge. So what did we create? We have, let me fold this in half. So here's the front of our pseudo jacket. I don't even know what to call this. And here's the back. And I'm gonna put this on so you can see what I'm saying about just, put it on over your shirt. And I just have a linen shirt on, and you instantly have this fun cover-up pseudo jacket. No, there's no side seam, but you can just wear this as it is to add something to the garment that you're wearing, or wear it as a shawl out. And it's just a simple way to turn one of our completed shawls into something special for yourself. I really love doing this. My first thought was, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to cut into this thing. But I really like how it finishes and how I wear it. So the next project we're going to work on is our jersey knit version of this shawl. And we're even going to add a few tassels. So stay tuned. Okay, now I'm wearing our jersey knit, And this is one of our older designs, so we don't have this available right now. But this is the Wisp in Merlot, and it is a beautiful wrap, just like the one I made out of the shawl, the pre-made shawl, by cutting up the center and using that as our shawl or wrap. So this version, let me show you the back as well. Again, it is tassels on the bottom, tassels on the front here as well. And you can wear it just over your shoulders. You can put a clasp. You can stitch up the sides if you want something a little bit more closed, or wrap it around any which way you'd like. So let's go through the process of making one of these. I started with 1.25 yards of the jersey knit. And remember, our jersey knit is 72 inches wide. Now let me hold this up for you so you can kind of see. So this is 45 inches of the fabric. This is the back with the tassels. And this is the front with the tassels. And what I did is I did serge the edge of this with another rolled edge hem, following the same process I just did for the rayon. I also serged with the rolled hem the edges of the long sides. You don't have to do that at all. This is actually very optional. It's a jersey knit, and so you can purchase 1.25 yards of fabric, make tassels, cut up the center, and it curls. You don't have to use any sewing machine. It's that simple. And so hopefully you'll give this a try, wear these yourself, or give them as wonderful gifts. And the more you wash them, the softer they become. It's really something. So here's what I did, and you may have other techniques that you can kind of envision when you see me going through this process, but let me show you what I did. We're gonna start with 1.25 yards of this Violetta, and this is Sachet Pink is the color, okay? And as you can see, we've done nothing to it. What I'm going to do first is make the tassels on the edge. If you've worked with our jersey knit before, you know that the edges, what we're kind of traditionally call a selvage, they are turned and stitched. There is a stitch line on here. We just simply do that. That's what our manufacturer does. And it just basically designates that this is what we would consider a selvage edge. Even though jersey knit is made in a round tube, there's really not a selvage. It's wherever it's slit open. So that's what we're calling a selvage. But what we need to do first is cut that off and make our tassels. I'm going to fold this in half so that we can cut 2 sets of tassels at a time. I use, you may wonder how I got those tassels so tiny here, but I use a Stripology ruler. This is the Stripology ruler, and it has slits every 1/2 inch that your rotary cutter can go into. And so this is not just for quilting. I try to use all my tools for anything that I can. And so this got me thinking about how to make tassels on my jersey knit. So what I do first is I take and straighten out, hopefully you can see this a little bit, but I straighten out the edges here. They do curl. Everything curls when you're working with a jersey knit. But just remember, it is 72 inches wide. And so you can change your measurements. You can cut off what you want if it's too long for you. Just do whatever you need to do at this point in time. But I use the straight edge of the Stripology ruler. I line everything up because I know my edge over here is straight. And I simply cut off and level out what I call our selvage edge. Then decide how long you want your tassels to be, okay? I think, let me measure mine. Mine happened to be about 6 inches long. You don't have to have it 6 inches long. You can do whatever you'd like to do. I know that when I have done this before, I mark that straight line right on, it's on 7.5 right now. And so it accounts for the extra inch at the top where your rotary cutter can't cut through. And so I just simply go right along the edge. Now, I will stop. If you want to serge your edges and have a rolled edge finish on your shawl, do that first. Take and just, because that's the easiest time to do it, is do your straight rolled edge along both long sides of your jersey knit. Do that first. I'm not doing that here because I love a curled edge, and so I'm just letting that be. So once you've done that, allow about 1/4 of an inch from your serged edge to the first cut mark on the Stripology ruler. Then this is what I do. Simply cut every single 1/2 inch all the way across your fabric, and I'm doing 2 layers at a time. You don't have to do 2 layers but I just don't want you to overthink it, because once you get to the fold, you want to make sure you still are even. And I'm making this assumption that I'm going to make that even myself, even if I have to adjust the fold just a little bit or open it up a little bit just to finish it off. So I just continue through this cutting until I'm all the way over to the center fold. And just remember, these Stripology tools are just fantastic. You can use them for cutting your 2.5 inch strips of cotton. You can use them for squares and all the things that Gudrun teaches you to do in all of her fantastic patterns and books. I really do love all the stuff that she puts out there. Okay, so I'm going to flip back where I left off. Line that up one more time. Again, 7.5 on my line. Line it up there and continue cutting. And now I'm right at the edge of my fold. And it looks like if I make one cut, I'm going to have a really nice, even 1/2 inch tassel. So I'm going to cut this. But if you don't feel comfortable with where that positioned itself, thinking that maybe it should be 1/4 inch before you cut that, adjust your ruler and make it the width you want. So just don't cut through the fold, but I guess that really wouldn't matter. It's a tassel. Okay, that's my last cut. So let's do this for the other side as well. And then we'll go to the next step. I just finished cutting the other side of the fabric. So now we have 2 sides, 2 edges that have tassels on them. What we need to do before we really move anything, and I kind of lifted this up and shook it out a little bit, but if you keep your cutting template on the fabric while you do this, it might be a little easier, but I already moved it. So what I'm going to do is this. We need to take the time to pull each one of these tassels. On my sample that I was wearing earlier, the tassels look really thin, don't they? And they're thin simply because they're pulled. And when you pull a jersey knit, it stretches. So let's go through and pull each one of these tassels. Hold the edge where the rotary cutter started so that you always have a point to pull from. And just, I do this 2 at a time, pull the tassel. This is all you need to do. And you get long, curly tassels. Do this all the way across your fabric on both sides. And you know, one thing that I was toying with the other day is braiding these. I think it would be really, really fun to take 3 of these and just start creating a braid design across the edge, and it would tie these together and still let you have a little bit of a tassel hanging down from the edge of your shawl or wrap as well. So there are so many options for what you can do without using your sewing machine to finish off the edges of your wrap. So let's just keep doing this. So we have all this done. And then as you wear your shawl and wash it, it just continues to get softer and softer. And each one of these tassels curls even more when you take it out of the dryer, because it's a Batik Cotton Jersey Knit. So it's 100% cotton, and it's amazing how soft it gets. I'm really going to love this color, actually. I'm thinking about that here as I do this. But see, it only takes a few minutes to go all the way across, to pull each one of these. And we're almost there. And remember, if you did serge the edge of your fabric, the first tassel on each side will have thread on it. It'll still have that serged edge unless you cut it off. But it looks really nice to have the serged edge on it. Okay. There are the tassels. How cool is that? And it's so simple with this tool. If you don't have the Stripology tool, there is nothing wrong with taking your ruler and a rotary cutter and just sliding the fabric along and cutting a 1/2 inch. You don't need to be too precise, but you can use whatever tool you have at home to do this. And it still turns out to be amazingly cute tassels, okay? So now we have, you could leave this. You would have a very wide, 45-inch wide shawl. You can leave this alone. You don't have to do anything else with this. And like I said earlier, the more you wash it, the more it curls and the more comfort it gets. But my goal today is to show you how I made that shawl to simply put over my head and to wear as I work around the office or at home. So now our next step is to take the width of this and to fold it. You can make and our goal here is to figure out where do I want to put the back of my garment versus the front. I'm going to make them equal. So I'm folding it in half so I can find my center. Use a pin and mark the center here. You wouldn't need to, you can estimate, but I like to just have a marker. And this is folded in half nicely. And so what I'm going to do now is take a scissor and cut up the center. You can't tear this, you can't snip it and tear it. It's a knit, and so it's not going to tear like the rayon will. So let's cut this fabric, okay? Moment, I forgot my scissor. Okay, so taking one layer here, and I am going to remove this tassel because it's right on the center fold. I'm going to cut that off. And I am simply going to cut up the center of this fold. And just kind of keep it as flat as you'd like. To cut your edges, keep it taut so that you don't get jagged edges, and take your time. If you want, you can definitely use your serger to create that same rolled edge to seal it off. I'm not going to do that this time. We're trying to make a no-sew shawl. So now I'm going to open this up. We have a shawl. If I can get this open. Here we go. Okay, so now what I have, I'm going to fold it in half as if it were structured like a jacket. We have the front here, and we have the back. And again, the more, this was just cut, so it's not rolling, but even a simple pull and it curls. And the minute you put this back in the wash, it's going to curl. So let's put this on so you can see. It is so fun. Now, if you don't want as much length on the sides, don't cut a 45-inch wide strip of fabric. Maybe a half a yard is enough for you, or if you want it longer. Again, I'm not taking body measurements for this. We're just making a shawl. So we have a shawl. No sewing machine at all. No serger at all. So I have one more jersey knit idea to share with you. That is one seam. Okay, here is the last of our shawls, but it's more of a cape, I think, or, you know, you put it on over your head. So I don't know what we're going to call that. But anyway, this is simply one piece of fabric. This again is our jersey knit. Now, I made this, I don't know how long ago, and I used one of our prior samples of jersey knit. So unfortunately, this fabric is not available, and I just use it for myself. But it is, again, the full width of fabric, so it's 72 inches wide. And I cut, see what this was. It's about 3/4 of a yard. So I probably cut off the bolt about 7/8 of a yard just to make sure that I had a little bit of shrink there. And I did serge the edges of this, but again, you do not need to serge the edges of this particular wrap. So what it is though, let me show you. It's simply a hole that goes over your head. And I'm going to put this back together. This is your seam, okay? This is the opening. This is your fold. And if I were able to open this up, it would be the 72-inch wide. So my stretch is this way. And it is 3/4 of a yard. So I have 2 layers with a seam in the middle and a hole at the end. All we've done is folded this wrong side together, and I just simply used my rolled edge because that's what I had on my serger at the time when I was working on these, and stitched from the edge to this stop point, and I left this opening. The opening is about 15 inches right here, okay? I'm gonna put this on my head so that you can see what it looks like. It's meant to go over your shoulder. So the seam is right where my hand is, right there. And that's it. So it is a simple wrap that you can wear. It has a little bit of an angle to it, and it has one seam line right there. So I don't need to show you how to do a rolled edge because you already know how to do that. Or you can just take it to your traditional sewing machine and stitch a 1/4 inch. You can use a zigzag stitch to make sure that it stays in place, or however you would like to secure it. It's jersey knit, it's gonna roll, it's not gonna fray or thread anything at all. So it's just a simple way to finish off a piece of jersey knit that you might have at home. We're gonna have all of these ideas on a blog page on our website, so check that out. If you don't remember all the things that I taught you here, but all in all, have fun. Make a cover-up wrap out of 3/4 of a yard of jersey knit with 1 seam. Make a wrap out of 1.25 yards of jersey knit and no sewing whatsoever, and throw this on. Or purchase one of our wraps as a wonderful gift for yourself and for your friends. And don't forget that if you want to make a more structured wrap, again, use one of our pre-made wraps, tear it up the center, and serge your edge with a rolled edge hem to finish it off. We hope you enjoy this segment, and we'll see you next time.